Why Jesus did not play hockey? Because soccer and baseball are more popular in Mexico.
In today's video, we're gonna compare Canon EOS RP mirrorless camera, the latest and the greatest, versus Canon 6D Mark II. We will go through these two cameras because they are kind of brothers. One is mirrorless category, obviously, and one is DSLR. They have both very similar specifications and price. They both have the 26 megapixel CMOS sensors full frame. They both have the same ISO on paper. They both have the touchscreen swivel back LCD screen, and they both cost under $2,000 US. They both can produce same high quality photos and similar full HD video footage, but there are differences as well. We're gonna go through some differences because these cameras will depart from each other and both of them will win some and will lose some. In terms of size, RP is the winner because it's close to the half of the weight of 6D Mark II at 485 grams in comparison with 765 grams. ISO performance, again, on paper is the same, but RP does a superior job at high ISO. We're gonna go through that in the photo test and we're gonna see that 6D Mark II, as everyone knows by now, has been heavily criticized on the internet. But that's not a big issue. Anyway, in terms of frames per second, RP does 5 frames per second, 6D Mark II does 6.5. 6D wins by a little bit. They are both in the kind of the same category. RP has an RF mount but comes with an adapter, and this mirrorless camera can take with the adapter the entire Canon lens range, EF lenses, EFS lenses, and RF, sorry. RP wins because you can use any Canon glass on it. RP can shoot full HD at 60 frames per second, which is far superior than 6D Mark II, and can do also 4K, cropped, but still can do 4K. 6D Mark II can do only 30 frames per second full HD. RP wins this one. Focus points. RP 4,779 points versus 45. RP wins the number. However, I'm not sure how that relevant is. I believe it's just a gimmick, but it might be useful in very rare situations. I did not come across to any of these situations. I can't focus. So you guys tell me, where is the relevance of thousands of focus points? Moving on, battery life. RP goes 250 shots, 6D Mark II goes forever because it's a DSLR, has a bigger battery, so I don't know how many, but with 6D Mark II you can shoot all day long. There's ways around it. They both can take hand grips with batteries additional, but if you just go by the paper, RP loses this one. RP has a headphone jack in addition to the 6D Mark II, which can be useful if you are a video shooter and you shoot behind the camera. In front of the camera, there's nothing you can do. You can't listen to what you're recording. They both have the swivel screen. They are both good for vlogging. Image stabilizers, I wouldn't count this one because none of these cameras have it. In terms of time-lapse, both have integrated intervalometer and they can provide a movie file at the end. So both on the same page here. In terms of camera in-house HDR, both of them have it. RP has focus bracketing in addition to 6D Mark II, so RP wins this one. None of these two cameras have dual card slots. They both use SD cards, so they both lose this one. However, none of these are for professionals. They are just as good as backup cameras or for amateur photographers who don't need the backup and they do not have the pressure of losing the footage and being sued by a customer. Both cameras work straight outside from the box and you don't need much effort to set them up. They'll just work both great. They're still Canon, so they are top of the range quality, even if we want to criticize each of them for whatever reasons. It's time to go through the menus. Both these cameras have standard Canon menus with 5 tabs. One is the shooting menu, the other one is the play menu, setup menu, custom function, and my menu. They all have sub-tabs, and we can see straight from the beginning that Canon EOS RP has many more sub-tabs, and that means it has many more functions. Some of the additional functions are scattered around on the additional sub-tabs, but there's definitely more functions. In regards to the play menu, we can see 3 tabs on the 6D Mark II in comparison with the 4 tabs. Not much difference, I wouldn't worry too much. In regards to the setup menu, again, few more differences, 5 sub-tabs in comparison with 6, but most of them are the same. Switching on video mode, the menu will changes, and the same story. Canon EOS RP has slightly more options than the 6D Mark II, and we can see a better selection in regards to video resolutions and frame rates. Last and not least, in the setup menu, slightly more options on Canon EOS RP. I think RP wins this one, but not by much. Now, in regards to the performance of a camera, the best way to test it is into the worst conditions. I have taken a series of tests inside the studio, so at least I can control the environment. And the lights you see, they are not strobe lights, they are continuous lights, and they are much less than outside. So actually I can go with higher ISOs. I have compared the performance of the Canon EOS RP with the 6D Mark II. Both cameras have the same settings in terms of shutter speed, ISO and aperture. They have a similar lens. One has the 24-70 f2.8 L series from Canon, and the RP has the 24-105. They are both very sharp, top of the range lenses, and I would definitely benchmark the sharpness with any other camera on the market with this configuration. So image number 1. On the left hand side you see the 6D Mark II, and the right hand side the RP. Very sharp, high quality images. I can't tell the difference. They're slightly different in shades, but that doesn't concern me at all. You can always modify the exposure or the white balance to suit your preferences, but today we wanted to compare absolutely apples with apples. Second picture here, we can see slightly larger difference between the exposure levels. Same settings, I had to remind you. I can see the 6D Mark II is a little bit darker, a little bit colder, and the contrast is a bit stronger. For this reason, the sharpness is a tad better. But again, the sharpness is the quality of the lens, not necessarily the sensor. Second shot, ISO 3200. The difference is getting bigger, so the Canon 6D Mark II on the left hand side is even darker in comparison with the RP. Again, that's not a deal breaker. The difference is absolutely obvious when you zoom in. The ISO performance of the 6D Mark II falls behind. You can see all these artifacts and all this noise. The Canon's RP wins this one. In conclusion, the Canon EOS RP is surclassing the 6D Mark II, and for the 26 megapixel camera is as good as it can get in terms of quality. Top quality, I don't think you can beat that at this point in time. Right, comparison between two Canons, EOS RP, mirrorless camera, and 6D Mark II. Both very similar, same sensor. I would expect identical quality in terms of video. I just compared the RP with the Panasonic GH5 and Canon 1 in terms of quality. Same settings for these two cameras, similar lenses. I've got the RF 24-105 at 24mm, and I've got a 24-70 at 24mm. In terms of settings, we have on both cameras 1/100th of a second shutter speed, f5.6 and ISO 800. They are both having two little holes for the sound. I believe both of the cameras will do a very good sound. without any need on top shotgun mic. I just realized that the Canon EOS does a very good job. It's gonna pick up the ambient noise. There's a lot of planes going around, so that will bother you. It bothered me. Mirrorless lens, DSLR. In conclusion for this video, the question remains: if you are in the market for a camera about this size, about this resolution, about this price, and if you like Canon, which one you should buy, the RP or the Canon 6D Mark II? Now, the RP wins on in many instances. First of all is the weight. The smaller the better. A number of focus points, headphone port jack, and price. Also, it does 4K, so the RP wins the battle here. On top of that, with the adapter, you can put any Canon glass on it. 6D Mark II still a DSLR, so if you want a bigger and bulkier camera, and some people do, I went through that phase. At this point in time, I'm no longer in that phase, so for me, size is starting to matter because I want to travel more and I want to carry a lighter camera with me. But if you're still a DSLR enthusiast, you can still go for the 6D Mark II. Word of advice, that's my personal opinion, this will be phased out very soon. Canon 6D Mark II was the only one DSLR with a swivel screen addressed to the vloggers market. YouTuber market is increasing, so that was a kind of a compromise reaction from Canon to put something into the market to address that. But that discussion is no longer applicable. You've got so many options to vlog and have a swivel screen, especially the mirrorless market, which does a far superior job at this point in time, with much less weight. So at this point in time, other than the battery life, which is quite important if you ask me, still, there's no reason to get the 6D Mark II. The rest of the 6D Mark II advantages of the RP are just gimmicks. Continuous shooting, 6.5 frames per second versus 5, big deal, not a big difference. Environmental ceiling, yes, you're not gonna probably shoot in harsh conditions. And perhaps a couple more buttons for easier navigation through the menu, and the 3-pin remote control, the corded one, and also the wireless remote will still work on this one if you have an older version. As a new tradition to this channel, I'm gonna pose a question at the end of the video, and I'm gonna comment on the previous video question and answer. In the previous video, I have asked in regards to Canon EOS RP, why would the crop sensor lens still be cropped in the case of RP with a 1:1 adapter? So basically what I'm saying here, the observation was that a 10mm EFS lens will give you a 16mm focal length photo at the end. I have received a good response from Nick Hyatt, and he also points out few errors in my previous video, which thank you for that. Look, I don't know everything and I don't have time to go through every individual little detail. Sorry about that. Anyway, response to the question is, the EFS crop is due to the smaller coverage provided by the lenses. The camera automatically senses an EFS lens that has been attached and uses an APS-C sized portion of the full frame sensor. If you did not, you would have a terrible vignetting at the frame corner. So a 16mm equivalent on an APS-C body will be 16mm equivalent on the RP and R2. Thanks for that. Also, I would like to point the fact that Kent Hinson points out that the fake click of the mirrorless camera is not really fake. Thanks, Kent, you are absolutely right. I did not touch many mirrorless cameras before, and I realized that there's actually a shutter. Even if you're looking and you see the sensor, there will be a shutter. Which leads us into today's question. Why would you have a physical shutter curtain on a mirrorless camera? Please leave your comments down below, and I'll talk to you in the next video. Thank you.